all of the above. We are coming at you live on clickorlando.com, the Pinpoint Weather app, and on our new 6 clickorlando.com YouTube page. So welcome to everybody. We're going to talk all about this over the next several minutes. So here we go. There is spin number 1. So this is kind of what is the main feature that we've been pinpointing for the last several days. Here is feature number 2. Hard to believe, but it's hanging out way up in Canada through the Montana border. And then here is our main piece, at least from a surface perspective. We're starting to see some extra moisture build in the mid-levels of our atmosphere, and that is going to be our main little southern branch, southern stream, if you will, that is going to work its way in that direction. These pieces up here are going to slide down and kind of merge with it as we get into the day tomorrow and really help this thing strengthen a little bit. From a satellite perspective, we have the subtropical jet kind of racing across the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to help to energize things as well. So what does that mean for all of us? We have a Central Florida-focused hour-by-hour future high-resolution clouds and rain forecast for you, and I think this is doing a pretty good job. Tomorrow morning, it's not going to be a total loss if you do have any practices or anything like that, but there will be rain around. You're starting to see some moisture surge back through, and then you see what happens. Let me take that back just a little smidge here, and let me put another pause point in, because that's when we really start to get some of the heaviest rain here. That's going to be as of 5 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, and then I think it's going to be right around that time, 6-ish, 7-ish, we have that severe weather threat starting to ramp up, and especially where you see these areas of yellow and red, that's where we could have the potential for a few strong thunderstorms. So that's one of the things that we are going to be pinpointing during the day tomorrow. Let me get this back into my play mode here. Let me get back through some of the slides that we just went over. We'll get into the expected rainfall in a second. I want to kind of play this through, though. Again, taking through the rest of tonight, no big deal. A little windy, and that's the one thing that's going to stay with us. And then, bam, there comes that surge of moisture late tomorrow afternoon through around dinner time. Strongest and nastiest of the weather happening as we get in towards that, I think, 7, 8 o'clock hour through about 1 or 2 o'clock Sunday mornings. This is a late Saturday, early Sunday kind of deal. And then we're going to clear things out quickly on early Sunday morning. Even though we are going to clear things out rather fast in the rainfall department and the thunderstorm department, it is still going to be windy. We're going to get into that in a second. Looking at some rainfall amounts here, expected amounts, I think a widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain is going to be likely almost everywhere through Central Florida. There's still going to be the opportunity for higher amounts. We've seen this happen before when you have that breeze off the Atlantic, kind of have the wind running into each other. That really helps to enhance rainfall amounts where that convergent line, we call it, is. That's going to be right along the coast, so we could see isolated 5, 6, 7 inches of rain right along the coast. But again, we're going to be watching for that flood potential through a good chunk of Central Florida. I don't think the flood threat's sky high, but on an isolated scale, we're going to be watching for certainly some issues. Now, in the wind, it has been gusty. If you've been in Florida this entire week, it's been windy. It's going to get even more windy as we get into the rest of your weekend. So here we go in terms of the future wind gusts. This is going to be now early Saturday morning through the afternoon. Stopping this at Saturday at 9 o'clock at night. There are our wind gusts anywhere from 40 to 45 miles an hour on the coast, more like 30 miles an hour inland, so it is going to be quite windy. And then you see as you go through the day on Sunday, it is still quite breezy and gusty at times through Sunday evening, albeit the weather is going to be improving, I think, significantly by the time we get into Sunday. Then we do have a short-lived blast of colder air coming in behind this system Sunday into Monday. I want to show you the severe threat for the entire state of Florida. I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit here. I think the main severe weather threat, and we're going to kind of break down why this is over the next couple of minutes. We're going to get real into the nitty-gritty. This is what I would call a conditional severe weather threat. I'm not looking at an outbreak of tornadoes by any means. Tornadoes are certainly possible. Again, I'm going to show you why meteorologically, scientifically in just one second. But I first want to highlight who has the best opportunity for damaging thunderstorms with the potential for a couple of tornadoes, and that is going to be south of Orlando. We're still under the gun in the light green here. It's just a lower opportunity for that to happen. So that's at marginal risk, okay? So we're still under the gun from about Daytona Beach through Denellen, into the Villages, Orlando, into Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Point Siena. What's going on? Anybody tuning in from the great Osceola County? Mico, we're under the gun for that as well. And then down toward Fort Myers for us around Lake Okeechobee, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. That is going to be the main severe weather threat if you're highlighted in yellow, really the southern half of Florida. I want to show you another product here, and then this is a model forecast, and then we're going to get into the reason why. I want to set this into motion here. This is something we call helicity, or storm relative helicity here. And what this model is going to pick up, it's a high-resolution model, and it shows the potential for rotation tracks. It's not too impressive. That is a good thing, but I want to draw your attention right here through South Florida, where you see these little marks. This is where the high-resolution model is picking up the opportunity for storms to rotate. So really focused on about the Lake Okeechobee area and point south. And then look at this. It really strengthens further. This is early Sunday morning now. So I think really if you're watching, happen to be tuning in from Fort Pierce, Fort Myers in south, that is going to be our main severe weather threat. I'll show you why in just 1 second. I do believe it's important to show you why, not just, again, trust the model for gospel here. This is just guidance. But there also are a few of those little things popping up in south of Orlando, too. It's a little bit of a lower opportunity around the Orlando area and for us in Polk, Osceola, and Brevard. But that threat is not zero. And now we're going to talk about why. Keep on saying we're going to talk about it. So let me just zoom this out to give you a nice view of Florida. What we have going on here is we have the likely non-tropical low, by the way. This is not going to be a named storm because it's not tropical in nature. So the Hurricane Center isn't highlighting this. They're not talking about it, and rightfully so, because this is not going to be a tropical system. This is something we call an extratropical cyclone, just a non-tropical storm here, similar to a nor'easter. The deal with an extratropical system, a non-tropical low, is that they have fronts attached to it. Hurricanes, tropical storms, they do not. They are a barotropic low. They feed off of the warm ocean water. It's what we call a warm core low, okay? These things have fronts attached to it. So right in through here, this is the warm sector. So this is where we would get the main severe weather threat. Now, South Florida, since the low is going to be cutting across like that, is going to be in that warm sector for a little bit longer. We can build the instability a little bit better. Instability is something that's going to be lacking in this event, and that is why I call it conditional. I always like to use the analogy here. Severe weather is just like making a cake. There's several components to it. There are several ingredients that are needed to see a severe weather event come into fruition. Again, we don't want that. But what you're looking for is an equal amount of wind shear with an equal amount of instability, and a lot of it, again, to get those storms to not only materialize, but then to have a favorable environment. We have a favorable environment for tornadic storms. We don't have the most favorable, what we would call thermodynamic environment in terms of fueling those storms. So we don't have a lot of instability. We don't have a lot of, that's also known as like the fuel to build those storms. If we can get storms to overcome the instability and grow a little bit taller, they will have a decent opportunity to spin and potentially produce tornadoes because of the environment that we are in. And that the best opportunity for that to happen is going to be right down in here, where in the warm sector, we are pulling in a lot of unstable air, warm, humid air from the Caribbean, from the Southwest Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. That is one thing that can kind of overcome. One of the ways to generate instability is to have colder air on top of warmer air. We don't have a ton of cold air sitting right on top of that warm sector or of this surface low. But another way to induce instability and bring in instability is to kind of increase the humidity, increase the dew point temperature at the surface. And that's what we're going to be doing in South Florida. Right where the low comes ashore too, that's going to be an extra area of forcing, so we're going to have to watch that closely. And that is why I believe that this area up here in Central Florida, closer to Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Melbourne, Orlando, the low is going to be right about here and then trekking in that direction. So we would have to watch it as it kind of spirals that way to force up those individual thunderstorms. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking out for late tomorrow into early Sunday. If a storm wants to get a little rowdy, it'll start to turn a little red on radar weekend. We don't have a ton of instability. We shouldn't see a whole lot of red on the radar reflectivity image. But if we start seeing that kind of pop embedded, we're really, really going to have to watch out because, again, the environment is really, really prime for that. And one of the main reasons, again, don't blame anything on El Nino per se, but this pattern that we're in with this subtropical jet stream kind of blasting across the Gulf of Mexico is brought to you by El Nino. We had a nasty week leading up to Thanksgiving. We had a nasty weekend across part of Florida last weekend, and with all likelihood, it appears that we are going to have a pretty ugly weekend tomorrow, and the wind at least continuing at a pretty good clip for Sunday. Alrighty, guys, thank you a ton for tuning in. We're going to keep you covered again. We'll be here all weekend long. Any questions, post those in the comments, and I will get back to you if you are watching on YouTube. If you're watching on clickorlando.com, you can also post on the web story that you clicked on this, on the actual article on clickorlando.com. I will be perusing that, and I will answer any questions that you have as well. Thank you guys a ton for tuning in. Again, we're going to be watching this closely. Hope we just have a good rainy indoor day with just a little bit of wind, and we can bypass the severe threat. But again, the potential is there for a pretty ugly system to slide through Saturday night into Sunday. Rain before Saturday night, but the worst of it Saturday night into Sunday. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got you covered again. We've been coming at you live on the WKMG Click Orlando YouTube page, clickorlando.com, and the News 6 weather app. We'll catch you soon.